Gateway 2000 Pentium PC works is Russ Graham of Gateway 2000. Russ, first of all, what about the price? I know the one we're going to look at now is about $3,900. How cheap can you get into a Pentium PC right now?
The lowest price product we have right now is $29.95. It's a fully configured system with 8 megabytes of memory, 424 meg hard drive, 256K cache, 2x CD-ROM, sound card, etc.
$2,900.
Correct.
Okay, the one we have here is about $4,000. And first of all, let's go through, and I know you just have a preset demo here because there's so many different things we could do. We were talking before about what kinds of applications the Pentium power is really worth it, and run through some of the environments, some of the applications in which you really need this kind of speed.
Okay. What I think is really beautiful about the Pentium is that the product itself can run all of the software that's been available out in the market today, and then you have the very high-end applications that it has a built-in power for. So for things such as 3D modeling, CAD type of work, we've got Photoshop and photo editing, where you can take pictures that are digitized, manipulate them, change them.
So anything that's really computation processing intensive, like graphics work, obviously.
Right. And the 32-bit operating environments of the future, where they're very graphic orientated, where they're very, like you said, computational orientated. The Pentium will really be able to tap into the ability to run those.
Okay, now on your Gateway Pentium machine, obviously the chip is just one part of the process. I mean, to really get good performance, you've got to do a lot more inside there besides just replace the CPU. What else is in this Gateway that gives you that kind of fast performance?
I think one of the most exciting things is the local bus video that we have in there. It's based on the PCI standard. You can put hard drives on that local bus. You can put video, network cards, etc. That's what really increases the speed. So instead of going out to the ISA bus, you're doing it locally with the memory and the CPU subsystem. The 64-bit data bus that goes from the CPU over to the memory is extremely fast and allows you to write information and get information from memory, compute it quickly, and spit it out.
So you're saying you really do take advantage of the 64-bit processor now?
Absolutely.
Even though there's not a lot of software that's really taking advantage.
Well, it's for the memory subsystem, so it definitely takes advantage
So you're
of
still
it.
moving data a lot faster inside the machine.
Absolutely.
How about a quick tour? This is a tower model, the P560 we're looking at. And
Correct.
just show us the configuration here.
Well, the configuration of this machine, that's the 3995 machine, has 16 megabytes of memory, 256K cache, has a 528 megabyte hard drive, has a 16-bit sound card, 2x CD-ROM, the 17-inch crystal scan monitor.
Okay, and again, asking the question I asked Ken at the very beginning, I guess you're selling computers, so I guess I know the answer. But really, is this the right time to go buy one of these things? Prices are clearly going to come down a little bit when there's a greater supply of Pentium chips around.
I think one of the exciting things about the Pentium is, unlike previous processors that were very high priced when they first came out, this has been putting a lot of pressure down on the standard products out there right now. So I think it is a pretty good time to buy it, but it definitely depends upon your applications. The more intensive your application is, or the more applications you're doing simultaneously, the better results you're going to get from a Pentium product.
Russ, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, one of the potential problems with a chip that has over 3 million transistors on it is heat generation. We visited the PC Week labs to find out about the heat problem, and here's that report.
PC Week Labs has run extensive tests on all of the existing Pentium-based hardware. They discovered that heat generation was a problem during beta testing, but since the addition of cooling fans, Lab Director Jim Louderback says all the systems are performing quite well.
They've got cooling fins on them, kind of like a Cadillac, 3 or 4 different fans. There's one machine, the HP back here, actually has the cooling fins, and then it has a fan sitting on top of the cooling fins, a tiny little fan. So the designs on the server seem to be pretty well done, and they have to be. You know, 3 or 4 fans are pretty much de rigueur with all the hardware that's inside of them.
A fan card is a must-have for a Pentium upgrade, but the PC Week testers say you're probably better off buying a Pentium system outright.
The Pentium requires much more air going over it because it's a much hotter chip than the 46. If the system isn't built correctly, you put a Pentium in, and it heats up the system, and your system dies. Probably not a good idea.
Louderback says most people don't need all of Pentium's power on the desktop, but servers are another story.
The HP Net server that I have behind me actually has been the best uniprocessor Pentium performer that we've seen. It did incredibly well on our SQL Server results running under NetWare, running as an NLM, because it's got a very fast channel, a very fast I/O, and it's got a very good disk controller that hooks up to multiple different disks. So that's a good box. They're all good boxes, and the multiprocessor ones are more expensive, but when you need the power, even a single Pentium isn't going to do it, so throw 3, 4, 5 Pentiums at it.
Evaluations have been done on virtually all of the Pentium systems available. However, the lab is waiting for IBM to release its microchannel production line.
It looks like it's going to be a real screamer, too, from the beta machines that we've looked at. IBM also, in their Ambra line, has a 2 Pentium server that we're just starting to take a look at. So no results there yet. We've looked at an NEC server that did real well. We've looked at Zenith, a couple of Zenith boxes that they were all right. They were kind of mid-level. They weren't as expensive, but they performed adequately. And we looked at a couple of ALR machines that were all right as well.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
One of the expected benefits of a Pentium-based machine is improved network performance. So here to show us Pentium power in a client machine and a server is Steve Brejo of ALR. Steve, let me back up and take a look at the monitor here on your ALR Evolution machine. And I take it this is a demonstration of the processing power you're getting out of this Pentium.
That's right, Stuart. We have Windows NT running on this particular machine. You can see the multi-threaded operations running, the different boxes doing their own thing on their different windows.
All right, so there's lots of computation-intensive applications going on simultaneously, as you say here, in the multi-threading. Explain the architecture inside the machine that's allowing you to get this maximum power out of the Pentium.
Okay, to that we'll go into this graphic. What we have is the Pentium processor here in the middle being fed literally on reads and writes out of a very large cache, 512K, at 64-bit transfers. To pump that data to the bus architectures, both an ESA bus and a VL bus, we use an intermittent funnel, 64-bit data funnel. This is how we achieve high throughput of data processing.
Now, what are the basic objects you're trying to accomplish in the architecture underneath the Pentium?
Okay, to do that, I'd like to go over here and show you the actual items.
So this is your server model?
That's right. This is the Evolution 5Q. Over here on the left, we have the Pentium processor. Comes in 60 or 60 megahertz clock speeds. The 512K of cache that is very important in a Pentium design is located here. The high-performance memory subsystem. To the right are 64 megs of memory, 16 megs is standard, 1 gigabyte is the maximum on this particular model. We have in the upper right-hand corner the 10 ESA bus slots. The top three have the Visa VL local bus slots. So you see in the system we've covered all of Intel's must-haves. 64-bit bus, the high level 2 secondary cache, a high-performance memory subsystem, and VL bus capability.
So that's got to be the whole picture to get that Pentium really cranking at its max.
That's right.
All right, let's go around the front here, and can you show me the front of the box here?
Okay. In the front of the box, we really have quite a bit of expandability. At the top, I have 2 3.5-inch drive bays. Below, I have 11 5.25 drive bays. Here I've configured the system with a CD-ROM, a tape backup, and a number of removable SCSI drives.
So these are removable drives which we can crank out here.
That's right. These are hot swappable in a SCSI environment.
Right. All right, what's the price story on these things? Say, let's start over here with getting this little guy over here to get me a Pentium box, a basic one.
Our entry-level models start at $24.95 for a base model. Most of our users and our resellers will configure our equipment to their specifications. A fully configured model like the one you see in front of you is about $34.95.
Steve, you've been selling these for a couple of months now. Who is buying Pentium machines? What kind of users are out there making this investment?
Recently, we did a customer survey and asked a lot of our users, what have you configured your Pentiums with? What types of applications are you running? We're finding interesting applications like neural networks, artificial intelligence, satellite tracking, obviously high-end CAD. They're getting the network performance. Financial analysis and those types of things.
Sure, the thing that's really taking the computational power.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much. Coming up next, we'll run some benchmark tests with a Pentium PC up against a 486, so don't go away. The key, of course, to buying a Pentium PC is getting improved performance. But how much better is a Pentium than a good 486? Here to show us is Ron Olfers of Compaq.
Hi, Stuart.
Ron, first of all, what are the two machines we have here?
What we're showing, Stuart, is a Compaq Desk Pro family. On the right is Compaq Desk Pro 48633. On the left, the Desk Pro 566M, the Pentium product from Compaq. On the right also, just for clarification, is a 17-inch 1024 monitor and the QVision 200, the new monitor on the left.
Okay, so that's a 48633. This is a Pentium 66.
Right.
All right, now let's take a look at this board. Now, I understand because this is a modular design, if I wanted to, I can upgrade this by putting in a board that has the Pentium processor on it, which would be a board like this?
That's exactly correct.
All right, and what's on here?
What we're looking at is the processor board for the Desk Pro M. On the right, you'll see the Pentium processor along with its fan complex. The Pentium processor sits just under the fan. Moving to the left, you see the 256K of second level cache.
That's this guy in the middle here.
In the middle, and we can take this off because it can be installed easily by the user.
Okay.
Moving further to the left, you see the 8 megabyte of standard memory, or 16
over here,
megabyte,
yeah.
which is on the back side.
Okay.
Notice also the SIM sockets are there. So we carry up to 144 megabytes of memory right on the system board.
Okay, can we look at the back of the board, see the rest of the memory, and also explain what you have as you call it Triflex architecture.
Right.
What does that mean?
Triflex architecture actually started as flex architecture in the 386. We actually separate the memory from the processor bus in order to get higher
And
performance.
is that the 3 chips you have here?
That's the 3 chips here plus the 4 address buffers. And what we've done with that is designing our own chipset for the Pentium. We make use of all the performance and features that are in there. The biggest one is to make sure, as Stephen said, to keep the Pentium processor full.
Yeah.
And we do a 128-bit path of memory, along with things like looking at algorithms to understand what the next instruction cycle may be.
Let me ask you about the heat question again, and you showed me the fan sitting in front of the Pentium, and you've got these sort of cooling devices here. What are you doing with these things?
What we have are the 560 Pentium and the 566. On the 560, we can cool it very adequately by using a passive heatsink.
So the 60 megahertz chip takes that
This
guy to
uses a
cool
passive
off.
heatsink. What we've done when we designed the Desk Pro M back in 1990 and early 91, we knew that it would have a Pentium in it. We designed it for that. So we had the airflow actually coming around the outside of the computer and to make sure that it cools it. When the 66 megahertz, we actually go ahead and put the extra fan just for that extra margin of safety.
Yeah. All right, can we go run our little benchmark test here and maybe get this guy out of the way? And what are we going to run? What's the test going to be?
What we're going to run, we're not going to show Windows NT. We actually have Windows 3.1 on both machines because we want to make sure that you can understand and get a basis for where you might be today and where you can go just by upgrading a processor.
So
board.
even in the Windows 3.1 environment, we're still going to see the benefits of using a
Sure,
Pentium.
I think you'll see if you.
Okay, so we're ready to run PowerPoint? Ready,
demo.
set, go?
What we're showing is a PowerPoint demo. It's a demo that I'm sure a lot of your viewers have seen. And you'll see on the left side that with this Pentium processor board, it just runs a lot faster.
How much is a lot faster?
Actually, almost 3 times as fast when you compare to 4633. It's important also to note that with Windows 3.1 or with PowerPoint, the way we're showing it, it's not Pentium-aware code. This is straight MS-DOS type
So
code.
the software doesn't know, it's not ready for the Pentium, but
That's
it's taking
exactly right.
advantage of the way you're quickly moving data nevertheless.
Compatibility is real key.
And obviously the Pentium's already done,
And he's already done, and we're going to wait for just a minute.
and our 4633 is still cranking along.
Which is still
I remember the
running.
days when we were doing the 46 versus the 386, and the 46 was done, and we're
We did
waiting,
the same sort
and
of
it goes
thing.
on and on and on.
And we made really a huge leap forward in performance to
Yeah.
be able to go the upgradability to that.
You guys are out there actually selling these Pentium machines now, and I take it the users are the guys who are really into graphics, into computation-intensive kind of applications?
That's true. If you are using graphics as part of your job and as part of what you're doing, clearly you'll want to have the most performance if you're doing a mission-critical application or your results are very timely for the corporation.
Can we take a look at a CAD demonstration, which I assume CAD is a classic area in which you really need
Get
that
out of
speed?
this. And if we just type CAD, and again, this will hit the enter key.
Okay,
Oh,
ready,
one
get
second.
set, go.
Go. And what we have here is AutoCAD Release 12 for DOS. And AutoCAD Release 12 for DOS is, again, not Pentium aware. We're running just straight code to make sure that you can understand where you would be with the 4633 and where you could go just with this new processor board.
So taking a look at this CAD program here, obviously we're whizzing away here on
It's a
the,
pretty complex drawing. We're
on the
regenerating the
Pentium.
drawing. We're working with the hidden lines and shading and things that are very compute intensive to really isolate the processor to let you see just what the differences are in the processor itself.
and in this CAD environment, we still about 3x performance here between the
We're
two?
again right
Uh-huh.
at 3 times the
Yeah.
performance of a 4633.
And well, this guy's done obviously
he's
a
done,
lot
and we're gonna
faster than the
continue here.
46. All right, final question again about this upgrade question. How much would it cost me to use this board and upgrade my 4633 to get to Pentium 66 versus just buying a new machine?
To go to the new Pentium processor board would be under $2,000. You would have everything that you would need then to go to the full Pentium power.
And how much would it cost me to buy the 566?
Current price on the 566 is at $49.99.
Okay, so it's a big savings.
A big savings.
Ron, thank you very much. That is our look at Pentium PCs. Stay tuned now for this week's computer news on Random Access.
In the Random Access file this week, Intel has announced the first round of price cuts on the Pentium processor. The company says prices will be cut up to 18% in the second quarter of '94. Intel says quick adoption of the Pentium processor by more than 100 manufacturers has led to the quickest ramp up in Intel history and the ability to move into high-volume, lower-cost production. Intel predicts that Pentium machines will account for 15% of the PC market in 1994. The company also announced a 15% price cut on 486 chips. Dell has announced a new line of Pentium-based PCs, the Omniplex 560 and 566. Dell says these are mission-critical computers with the most advanced features available, including PCI architecture. The new Dell Pentium machines will start at $3,499. Compaq says it is getting out of the printer business. The company announced it will no longer sell its PageMark brand of printers, but will continue to provide support for current users. Computers are coming to the rescue of the nation's healthcare system. The National Electronic Information Corporation has announced a new online network for linking healthcare providers and health insurers. The Healthcare Information Network was launched this month in 13 states as a first step toward nationwide implementation. The company says the new electronic link for the healthcare system will improve efficiency and reduce administrative costs. IBM has announced delays in shipping the new version of its PS2 models 76 and 77. The company says there are problems with a specialized memory chip. And IBM has now resumed shipment of the ThinkPad 500. The notebook computer was pulled from the market last month because of battery problems. IBM has replaced the older batteries with new nickel metal hydride batteries. If you bought an earlier model ThinkPad 500 and want your battery replaced, you can contact IBM customer service at 1-800-426-7244. Despite its problems, DataQuest says that IBM is #1 in market share in personal computers with 13.6% of the PC market. That's up from last year. Second is Apple with 11%, and Compaq is third with 10%. NEC and Dell came in fourth and fifth. If you're a Unix user and would like to run Microsoft Word or Excel, a company called Quorum has just announced a new low-cost package that gets you either program for only $299. Up until now, Unix versions of the Microsoft titles have cost more than $1,000. The Quorum package comes bundled with the Equal Application Adapter, which transparently rehosts Word and Excel to run on Sun, Spark-compatible, or Silicon Graphics workstations. If you love the movie It's a Wonderful Life, you can see it now on your computer. A company called Kinesoft has released a CD-ROM version of the holiday classic. The 2-disc set comes with a complete movie plus a gigabyte of additional information, such as the full shooting script, film reviews, a trivia game, audio interviews, and more. The movie disc set is being distributed by MicroProse. It runs under Windows and lists for $79.95. Finally, a report funded by the National Science Foundation says American schools are not making good use of personal computers. While 99% of American schools have computers available to students, the NSF study said the schools are using outdated hardware and that teachers are not being given adequate training. The study found that Austria, Japan, and the Netherlands all had better computer training programs for teachers. That's it for this week's Random Access. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Janelle Stelson.
Computer Chronicles is brought to you in part by Intel, microprocessor technology for the software of today and tomorrow. Intel, the computer inside. Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy. And by Hewlett-Packard, Personal Computer Division.
Video cassette copies of this program are available. Computer Chronicles also publishes a companion newsletter containing details on products demonstrated and information on program topics. To order a video cassette or a newsletter, call 1-800-799-4949 or write Computer Chronicles. Please specify program subject for tapes. All orders include a free software program for auditing software use and information on the definitive guide to keeping your organization's software legal.
There's an old story that Apple doesn't go out of its way to tell. In September of 1989, the company quietly buried about 2,700 computers known as Lisas in a landfill in Logan, Utah. We only know about it because of an old newspaper article we found on a defunct tech blog. There are a few details there: a used computer store, an unusual business deal. But today, more than 30 years later, it all has the vibe of an urban legend. So we set out for Utah. Get a shovel and start digging to see what was really true.
That is so wild to see.
What we found was a far stranger incident.
Boy, I thought that they were henchmen.
It seemed like the mob had come to town, you know?
And a new spin on the tale of the Lisa itself. Its invention, which changed the course of computing forever.
Our thing was not to build a computer, it was to build a new kind of technology.
Its premature end at the hands of its co-creator.
There definitely was an element of revenge.
And its brief afterlife, thanks to a man who staked his future on a flop.
It's a very difficult day that all those computers were being loaded up.
This is the story of how Apple became the behemoth it is today by burying its past, literally. The story brought us to two valleys, Silicon Valley, California, and Cache Valley, Utah. We were looking for anyone who might still remember what happened to the Lisas. Seems like a cool spot. Not easy for a 40-year-old story, but we found a few key players.
Proudly showing the Personal Office System division there, POS. That's us.
We didn't get many exciting tips like that. This was something different.
You know, that was my life, basically. That was my life's work.
So let's start in Silicon Valley. At the end of the 70s, the personal computer market was blowing up, thanks largely to Apple Computer and its two Steves, Wozniak and Jobs.
Overnight, manufacturing personal computers has become a $500 million business.
A boom to one company in particular. It has become the Big Apple in this land of high technology.
The company was soaring, and its engine was the Apple II, a green-screened little marvel designed by Wozniak. It's primitive by today's standards, but it was cheap and useful enough to nudge computers into the mainstream. And it was bankrolling a growing team of engineers out to change the world.
Well, it was really exciting. I mean, everyone there really cared about what they were doing because this was the new foundation, the new frontier.
We all had also heard all of the Apple religion, wheels for the mind and all of those things. Those are all things that we all believe.
This is a 21st century bicycle that amplifies a certain intellectual ability that man has.
We're building tools that amplify a human ability.
Steve Jobs was 25 in 1980, already a multimillionaire, and a force of nature.
He was fearless, and he was presumptuous, and he could be intolerable sometimes. What was going on in his head was the way the world really was.
Steve would show up late for meetings and sort of declare what he thought was supposed to happen, and you just wouldn't know, well, what are we supposed to do with this? He had run of the company, he could do whatever he wanted.